So hello and welcome to another video from sickmaths.co.uk, where you can find lots of free maths videos. This one is about probability and strategic sampling. So let's talk about probability first. What does it mean? It just means chance. What's the chance of something happening? So here's my bag of marbles. It's got 3 red marbles, 2 yellows and a black. Okay, what's the probability or the chance of picking a red marble? Well, there are 3 red marbles out of a total of 6 marbles, so the probability of getting a red is just 3 out of 6. And the probability of getting a black, or the chance of getting a black marble when you pick it, when you pick a marble, is 1 out of 6, because there's only 1 black marble out of the 6 marbles, so it's 1 out of 6. Very simple. Now the maximum probability you can get is 1. Okay, why? Let's give you a quick explanation. Imagine all of these marbles were red. So there are 6 marbles and all of them are red. The probability of picking a red marble therefore would be 6 out of 6. Now 6 out of 6 equals 1. So that's the maximum probability you can get. And the minimum, of course, for probability is 0. The minimum probability you can get is 0. Now let's quickly jump to this possibility space diagram. Possibility space diagrams simply show you all the possible things that can happen in a given situation. For example, our situation is I've got a bag of marbles with 2 reds, 1 white and 1 green in it, and I'm tossing a coin and I'm looking out for the heads or tails. Okay, now here are all the possible things that can happen. I've got 2 reds, so I write the red twice, and I've got 1 white, 1 green, and then with the coin I can get either a head or a tail. Okay, so these are all the things that can happen. For example, HR stands for heads and a red, and again I've got heads and red twice because there's 2 different ways I can get a head and a red. I can get a head and a red with the toss of the coin, but I've got 2 reds, you see, so there's 2 different chances of that happening. Now how does that link back to probability? Well, if I'm thinking about what's the probability of getting a head and a red, well, there are 2 different ways I can get that out of the 8 different possibilities over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8 possibilities. Okay, so there's 2 out of 8 chance. So that's how it links back to probability. Now let's jump to strategic sampling. I'm going to quickly explain what sampling means. Sampling means you take a small group from a larger group, okay, to do a survey on. You know, when you do a survey, you don't ask the whole world about the survey. You ask a smaller group and you say, you know, from this survey I can tell that probably everybody thinks this or thinks that. So that's what sampling is all about. So I'm going to take a sample of 60 students from my school of 150 students, where there are 100 boys and 50 girls. Okay, now I want to know, because I want my sample to represent fairly the rest of the school, I want that many the same sort of proportion of boys and girls in my sample of 60 students. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to work out how many boys there should be in the sample. Well, there are 100 boys out of the 150 students in the school. So that is how much of my sample should be boys. So I do that times 60. That's just 100 out of 150 is just 2/3. Okay, 2/3 of 60 basically, which is 40. Great. And I want also that much of my sample to be represented by the girls. So that's 1/3 of my 60 students should be represented by girls. So 1/3 of 60 is 20. So that's great. And 40 plus 20 equals 60. Right? So as you can see, there are as in the school there are twice as many boys as there are in girls, and the same is true for my sample. There are 40 boys in my sample and 20 girls in my sample. Okay, so that's twice as many as that. Now sometimes you get decimal numbers and you just have to round it up so it adds up. Okay? And you sometimes have to round down or round up using your common sense. Okay.